Welcome to the Education Exchange. I'm your host, Superintendent Jeremy Calles, and today we are going to tee off the conversation on sports. We have all of our athletic directors here today. I'm going to let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Chris Bennett, Athletic Director, Sierra Linda High School.
I'm Chris Williams, Athletic Director, Copper King High School.
I'm Joshua Ray, Proud Athletic Director, West Point High School.
Jim Kramer, Prouder Athletic Director at Westview High School.
Joe Williams, just the Proud Athletic Director of La Jolla Community High School.
Hi, my name is Dr. Ray Perkins. I am the Athletic Director in Tolleson High School, District of Tolleson High School.
All right, very proud bunch here today to talk about sports. Let's dive into it. Now, obviously, I have a preference for football as my favorite sport, but I don't want you guys to limit your responses today to just football. I mean, obviously, all of our sports matter, so we're going to get into all of them. First, let's just start off the first question, make it easy for you. What's something that, a new high school student coming in, what's something that they need to know about our sports programs? How do they get involved? I mean, if they're waiting until the first day of school freshman year, is that already too late to be getting involved for your sport?
Well, I wouldn't say it's too late, and it's never too late. I just think there's just so many resources that are offered at the schools now, especially with us being 12 months that we're there, and programs running in the off season. Just so much going on. I think that if when we're proactive in the spring to try to get those new kids coming in so they can get their physical, so they can get cleared once they're done with 8th grade, and then it's just a seamless transition into the summer where you can get so many kids involved to when the fall comes, you have so many people already integrated into the program. So, but you are going to have those kids who transfer in late, who second guess, especially freshmen, what they want to do. And then once they build those connections on campus, those first couple weeks of school, then they might want to start getting involved. So we try not to say it's never too late, especially for those new kids coming in, because there's always opportunity.
All right, so on that note, does that mean that if let's say you want to participate in fall sports, let's say you're a student who's never played sports before, you show up at the high school, first day, freshman year, and you're like, you know what, I'm in high school now, I want to try out some sports. So first day of high school, you're thinking like, I want to try one of these fall sports. What would be the first step that they would have to go through?
I think, the first step is just seeing all the opportunities that we have. We have an abundance of opportunities for girls and boys. It's just the biggest hurdle is getting that physical and learning how to get into register my athlete, because they haven't had that experience before, so we could get them cleared. Our school, we do a pretty good job like with all the other schools, is getting them earlier with freshman preview night. We hand out that information so they can start that, because the biggest hurdle, and I think you guys would agree, is register my athlete and that physical. Once they get that taken care of, it just opens up all the different opportunities. What I would tell a freshman coming in is, you got 4 years. Do anything and everything, because there's no going back to high school.
And to speak on the physicals, to be proactive, we held at Sierra Linda, and I believe West Point also held a free physical event in the spring, and we broadcast that to our partner schools in the Fowler district. And so we had over 200 students at Sierra Linda last year that were within our district, but also from Western Valley, Santa Maria, coming to Sierra Linda if they were already currently enrolled. And they were able to get that physical in May as opposed to after the first day of school. So as we continue to bolster and improve and increase our partnership with our partner schools in the elementary, we can get more students in that are coming to our schools, but that also benefits us in the fact that it leads to early enrollment. We can get our enrollment numbers up in May by leveraging our athletic program and that free physical, so that we have less students coming in on the first day of school to enroll as well.
Nice. Now let's travel to the other end of the spectrum. Let's talk about those student athletes where they are essentially even picking their high school out based on the performance of the sports teams, where that is the most important thing that they're looking for when selecting a high school. I want to give you each a chance to brag on your schools. Which programs, which athletic programs, I'm going to limit you to no more than 3, because I don't want you telling me every single program is the best only at your school. What would you say are the top 3 programs at your school that if you care about these programs, you know that at our high school, you're going to have a high-quality program that's competitive?
I think for Copper King, that's easy. I mean, it's every program. We're,
Top three, Chris, top three.
we're up and coming. Boys golf they're 4-time district champion. I would say girls tennis. We're also very competitive there. We have multiple qualifiers in state. And then I would say, it's tough because this is being recorded. I would honestly say girls basketball as well. It's a rough start last night, but it's one of our other consistent sports. But all of our sports are really good.
Nice. Who's got their?
No, I'm sorry. You know,
Go ahead, Joe.
you run it, bro.
I would say for La Jolla, it would be definitely boys basketball, for one, girls wrestling, and then boys soccer would be the third. While our other programs are on their way up, those are the ones that are in front right now. But just know that we're building our programs to ensure that in the future, we're going to compete with everyone.
I'd like to add, the boys.
You said three, Chris.
Hey, I got it. Is the soccer capital of the world, boys soccer at Copper Canyon. That's another one. I'm sorry, four.
At West Point, it's also hard to choose. We're a newer school. This is only our 6th year open. So all of our programs are developing at different rates. I think an amazing accomplishment that I'd love to brag about is we had a state champion track team 2 years ago. Our 4x1 boys team won the state championship two seasons ago, and so we were really proud of that. We've continued success a lot in our sprinters in the track program, but the whole team is doing really well. We've also made the playoffs in volleyball and in boys basketball so far. So we're growing, but we're trying to grow fast.
And you want to go?
No,
All right. It's Sierra Linda. I'm going to pick one from each season. For our fall season, I'd say our volleyball right now, we're right on the cusp, like 1 seed out from making that playing game. In the last 2 years, and I want to thank Mr. Kramer for hiring the coach. In the last 2 years, our coach, she's a young coach, she's turned that program into one that's going to be a force here in the next few years. I do expect to see that team in the playoffs as soon as next year. In the winter, I'm gonna celebrate girls wrestling. We have a girls wrestling coach who's been there for quite a while. Very committed to this team, to the school, to the kids. Also, our lead security guard. And then in the spring, I'm proud of what our track and field team is doing, up and coming. We have a younger coach there as well, and he's working with on-staff coaches. And last year we hosted 2 track meets, which is the first time Sierra's hosted track meets in quite a while. And we have great turnout, great experience. While the athletes, in addition to growing in their sports capacity and their ability to win, we're also growing the culture on campus for a place where we want to invite people in, and we want to have really awesome experiences for people from around the valley. So teams and schools and athletes and the community wants to come into Sierra Linda and be a part of what we're doing.
Well, I'm going to kind of cheat on my answer because I'm just going to recognize a program. Because when I look at basketball, I look at boys and girls basketball together. Because there is, especially at Westview, because we are older, we have smaller facilities. There's a lot of corresponding with each other and collaborating. And again, to me, it's not about the wins and losses, which might be weird to hear an athletic director say out loud. But it is about building a culture and changing things. Westview, I've lived in that community for 20 plus years. Before I started working there. So I knew my kids were going to go there, and now they are. So I've seen, the prowess that school once had, and, as things change and times change and people move out, and the people who had kids still live there, but those kids are now adults who have kids. There's a culture that a lot of my coaches who were part of Westview as students in the past now are trying to rekindle that fire that they once experienced as students. So So again, the long-winded answer is it's really hard to say. I look at what basketball, the program itself, is doing with a new girls coach and a new boys coach, the dedication and time committed by these coaches, new volleyball coach, softball coach. They're doing so much off-season work now, and I think you guys can attest to that, where they're here with the kids all the time and they're sacrificing so much of their time. So I know it's not the answer you're asking for, because that's a real difficult one, because I have so many coaches from Spirit Line to you name it. They're just dedicating their time away from their families to give back to our kids and our community. So selfishly, I'm going to take the easy way out, and I don't want to name three, because it's way just too challenging. There's just too much good going on over there. I just don't want to pinpoint them. So
I would say traditionally at Tolleson, over the last 2 decades, boys soccer has placed and have been in the playoffs every single year. We would also like to highlight baseball. We won the section championship, 6A. In addition to girls softball, we won section championships, and we made it to the 3rd round in the playoffs just 2 years ago. We boasted players, Division I players by the name of Viviana Martinez, who's an All-American shortstop at the University of Texas now. And so a lot of great pride in those programs. There's pride in all of our programs. One of the other things I'd like to add is 2 years ago, we're the 3rd largest football program in the state with 170 student athletes participating, and that's something big. That our participation numbers have always been huge at Tolleson High School. Our kids, they believe in our coaches, our community, they support us, and kids come out and they want to try different things.
All right. Thank you all for sharing. I'm going to throw another question out to the group. So these are student athletes. What are some things that you have in place to ensure that all of our coaches, all of our students who are participating understand that they are student athletes, and that student piece is really being taken care of, that despite the fact that their passion may be around the sport, that they're not losing the sight of the fact that they need to stay on pace for graduation, they need to be performing well in their classes? What are some strategies you've implemented to really highlight and accent that student piece of being a student athlete?
I think what we have in place, and what we call this Aztec Academy. So we have something in place where we have after-school tutoring for all of our athletes. So we have teachers from math or English that come and help out, and they're coaches, so we don't start practice until 4 o'clock. So they have a after-school intervention for if they need to get something done. And that over the last 2 years, our school athletic department GPA has consistently been over 3.0.
Nice.
So they understand the commitment inside the classroom, and these student athletes, and again with everyone else, they go to UMA. I think all of our schools go to UMA, and the expectation is coach and player, regardless of the trip, they come to school the next day, and they're still responsible for making that assignment up. So having what we call Aztec Academy benefits and helps our students out because they know, like, there's life after high school, and it's our job as coaches and teachers and administrators to get them to that next level and be successful.
And we utilize our BARC program, which is after school intervention as well. So each of the athletic programs are enrolled in our 21st Century BARC program, and they use that tutoring time or that intervention time as needed. Similar to Copper, our practices start an hour after school, so they have that first session of BARC that they can go to receive those interventions. I keep a very close eye on our eligibility report, and I'll call students down if they're ineligible, especially if it's multiple weeks, and sit them down. I'll look at their grades with them as the athletic director and have discussions about what we can do, even if it's on an assignment by assignment base through looking in synergy, on how we can work to continue to keep the grades up. For some of our upperclassmen who are looking to potentially play at the collegiate level, coaches and myself, we have discussions with them about what scouts are looking for. And the message that I'm sending in these conversations to a couple of our athletes that are there athletically but not quite there academically is that when a scout comes out to watch you, they already know if you can play. They're not going to come out unless they've seen you on film. They're going to ask coaches questions like, how are you in the locker room with your team? Are you a leader? How is he in class? Is the student respectful to his teachers or her teachers, to their peers? What's their drive academically? And it's to work with the kids so they understand that the goal that they're trying to achieve in athletics is not siloed to being a good athlete. It's being a well-rounded individual. And I'm proud to say that this year in our football program, we went 4 consecutive weeks on varsity where every single student athlete was eligible to dress and play in the game, which is growth for our school and a very good model, especially coming from a football program, for the rest of the school to follow.
At Tolleson, we hosted the NCAA NIL night, made it mandatory for all the student athletes and parents on campus. And I went every year what the requirements were to meet NCAA requirements, which is also to get into college. It's the same. And also how the NIL performs. I did it in conjunction with Dr. Coleman over at ASU. And so that way, when you're a freshman, you need to lock in because everything now that you do at the high school gets documented in your transcripts. You cannot take a semester off. You want to start fast. And so that created a little more urgency that they would take the classes seriously. In addition to the weekly grade checks that we have, the coaches still have a relationship with the students after they're done with their season. They have their hands on the student athletes all year long. We not only look at the eligibility report if a student is failing, if they have a D, they're on that report. So coaches can have those conversations, say, hey, I see that you're pulling up this grade here, but what's going on in this class? How low is that? How low is that D? Because we don't want you falling to next week becoming ineligible.
Right.
Well, at La Jolla, we prepare not just our athletes, but all of our students for post-secondary success. And how we do that is, like they said, some of it's the after school, but specifically in our athletic programs, each of our coaches is responsible for their students the whole year, not just during their season, the whole year. And so I give coaches access so that they can see their student athletes' grades and synergy, and they can call a student, whether it's in season or not, hey, what are we doing? Why aren't we working on this? Because getting good grades is a habit. And if we talk to them about it when it's not in season, they already know what the expectation is during the season. And so, like I said, we prepare them for post-secondary success, and how we do that is through tutoring, coaches talking to them all year long. And then we have those conversations about what level do you want to play next year? Do you want to play in college? Okay, here's what you have to have in order to do that. And we explain the sliding scale that the NCAA has. And we also explain to them, like, listen, you guys want to play at that level, but today, the portal, have you heard of the portal? And we explain to them, this is how the portal works. Your grades have to be like this in order just for you to get into the conversation. And so our kids, when they do leave, they understand exactly what the requirements are to get where they want to go. And then some of them, whose grades may not be as what they hope they would be, we'd find junior colleges, things like that, to help them work their way to the level that they want to get to.
Yeah, I mean, just ditto what everybody said. I mean, with the Title I tutoring, things like that after school and those opportunities. But I think Doc kind of hit on it before. I think a lot of us, when we hire our coaches, our coaches need to buy in to what we're doing. And if it means following those kids all year long, if it means having mandatory tutoring with the teams, if you're putting someone in that position who buys into what you're doing, it makes all those pieces just fall into place. So.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, the kids need to know we're serious about their grades. It's not just words we're saying that we want them to do well. So we have to hold them accountable. Many of the programs at West Point check grades for off-season things, so they can't even participate in some of the stuff out of season unless their grades are staying up. I really like that and encourage my coaches when they do that. But the big thing is really the relationships, like Jim said, the relationships our coaches have with our kids. If you become ineligible, you're not just letting down this coach that you have a lot of respect for, you're letting down your teammates as well. So those relationships between teammates and coaches is holding each other accountable to keep those grades up.
Well, those are some great strategies. I like the idea of the coaches having responsibility for those players the entire year because, yeah, it's a lot easier to motivate a student when they're in season because they know they lose eligibility, they don't play. It's a lot harder to keep them motivated for the entire year if it's a student that typically isn't motivated to perform. So that's a great strategy. I'm going to toss out this next one. You don't all have to answer this next one, but if you know you got a good idea on it, by all means, jump in and share it. One of the I'm going to assume that one of the most common complaints you get out of any athletic program is going to be, my child isn't getting enough playing time. You know, by the time it reaches your ears, it means they have already gotten frustrated with the coach, and they're jumping to you now, and they're telling you, my child is not getting enough playing time. And they probably have little extras around their reasoning behind why their child is not getting enough playing time. But typically, how do you handle that? How do you walk a parent through that when they're upset that they feel that their child isn't on the field, on the court, in the game? You know, how do you walk them through that conversation?
Well, the first way I walk them through it is have you spoken to the coach at the level that your child's playing? If they say yes, then I ask, have you spoken to the head coach? If they say yes, that's when they can come have a conversation with me. Then I take everyone, put us all in one room, so that way the coach can explain to them, okay, your son shows up every other practice, whatever it might be, why they're not playing. But when we leave that meeting, it's clear to the parent why their student athlete isn't playing, or, you know, why they just removed them from the program altogether.
I kind of talk to the parents. It's like sports, you know, giving life lessons. You know, again, we're teaching the kid holistically for preparing them for the future, and I let the parents know sometimes it doesn't work out your way of playing time, but it's how your son or daughter responds to that. Are they listening to the coach's feedback? Are they, you know, doing what they can to get onto the field? And I, you know, let them know the example of Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player that ever lived. I mean, he got cut his JV year, so he saw adversity and then was able to bounce back. So maybe it's not this year. Put in the work, take what the coach is saying, and then you have an opportunity later. And I let them know in life, we all could go to a job, and we've all had jobs we interviewed for and then get the job. It didn't discourage us. We just went on to the next job and did what we could to get the job. And kind of those are life lessons, again, that you can take from sports.
Before I jump in, I just want to clarify that LeBron James is the best player that's ever lived. But
Actually, Kobe Bryant was just saying that.
But one thing that I just wanted to add to this is I think an important part of the conversation with these parents is showing empathy. They're upset by the time they get to us, like you said, and that's because with athletics comes passion, and we all know that. The parents are passionate about their kids and about the sport that their kids play. The kid is upset because they're passionate about that sport and they want to be on the floor. So first and foremost, I like to listen, let them know I understand that they're upset, show empathy, and then kind of what these guys said, talk about how it can be life lessons and how do they improve, and to make sure they understand very clearly from the coach what things they need to work on to get back out there.
We run very large programs, so we do not discuss playing time. I'll just change the nomenclature with that. We'll have a meeting if the parent has gone to chain of command, talk to the coach. I will be glad to meet with the parent, coach, and student athlete. And during that meeting, I have the coach share with the parent and the student athlete what is it that child can do to improve the chances of getting playing time. Because again, we need to look at the skills that they need to possess to be able to get on the field. I know that in football, our coaches, they two platoons, so you have 22 different kids on the field on offense and defense. So now that improves that young man's chances to be able to get on the field. But what is it the coach is expecting to see out of that young person to be able to improve his chances to get on the field, or her chances of getting on the court, or what have you? So give them some constructive feedback. Any coach that spends any time with a student athlete should be able to look them in the eye and give them constructive criticism on what it is they could do better. If they cannot do that, then that's not coaching.
All right. I'm going to take you guys through Joe, did you want to add one more before?
I think the best way for all of us to work through that process, and what's worked for me thus far, is that we built pretty good relationships with our parents. We get them involved in the program, and we let them see everything. I mean, it's like open door. You can see everything that's going on. So that way, when you do have that difficult conversation, they honestly see and believe exactly what you're saying to them.
So I'd like to speak to that. I had a coach come to me from one of our winter sports programs, and they came to me last May, and with just that. Hey, I've noticed that this program and this program and this program historically get preferential treatment or get different opportunities or get better gear from the athletics office, and with a kind of a list of items that coach wanted to speak about. And their primary concern at the end of it all was our 850 club account is very, very low. It's always very, very low. We struggle to get involvement from parents or students to fundraise. And I'd like to take care of these kids because the kids come to me and say, hey, how come program X and program Y have hoodies and shirts and all these things, and we're kind of left out. So I worked with that coach. We had a pretty extensive conversation on what he felt his needs were and on how we can get creative with fundraising to just give them kind of a shot in the arm for this year. The solution that this coach and I came to actually was thanks to the work from district office and remodeling our football entry. It's now a place where we can bring a lot of people and have a great time. In addition, bring vendors out. Is I set that coach up with our Kona Ice and Tom's Coffee truck. And so that coach runs all the paperwork, does all the communication with that particular vendor. They came out to every football game. They're coming out to all of our tournaments, all of our school events. And this coach to this point has made over $1,500 for their program. And it's a program that had $38 in the bank when at the end of last year. And so in speaking with all of my coaches, because that raised a bunch of eyebrows of, hey, how do we do that? That particular vendor is going to be at Sierra Linda, a rotating vendor from program to program. And we're starting with the programs that feel and sometimes are a little under the radar and working our way program to program so that every year a different program can get that $2,000, $3,000 shot in the arm. As in the short term, while we develop long-term plans with younger coaches who've never fundraised to this level on how we can get out and pound the ground and get sponsorships and create some fun fundraising events, utilize the online fundraiser that was created within our district. And that's how I handled that in this particular situation. And so far, we've had a lot of success with that individual program and buy-in from coaches of other programs to get involved as well.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's keep
No,
running.
I've been talking too much. Go ahead.
Me too. No, exactly that. It's sometimes they don't see the fine print of how a lot of these groups and clubs are doing these activities, and a lot of it is because of extensive fundraising throughout the year. And you hit on that new thing the district has where they can do the online fundraising now. That's been a godsend because, they're working with these outside agencies who are good, but it's that 80-20 split, and now it's 100% of these funds go right. And we're in the day and age of, we're not going door to door selling chocolate anymore. It's throw it out on social media, and it's the new GoFundMes. And the clubs are just able to make so much money. So even if it's new programs, new sponsors, whatever the case is, it's just there's so many opportunities that Tolleson has for them if they would just ask. And whether it's the bookstore managers that we have that are also well versed in everything that's going on, or working with us to work directly with the people at district office to get things answered for them. It's just kind of encouraging them that there's no I know there's a perceived favoritism sometimes, but there's so much below the surface that can happen for them that if to utilize the resources in Tolleson District that we can get them in the same level,
For me, I get kind of, if it came to me, and I kind of take it personally as, then I'm not clearly communicating like my process and how I treat programs. Kind of 2 years ago, it was kind of the case. I favored football. So I explained to them why I push football. Football drives the budget for everything because of the gate. So this is why I need you guys to come here. And I showed them what I spent my money on. So they kind of see, and I won't, if I'm buying a girls sport something, I buy the boys something, vice versa. And I want them to see that there's equity. Everyone's being treated equitably and the same. So, if it's coming to me, then something that I'm not communicating clearly that. And when I send out my needs and wants list, I make sure that everyone gets their wants, taken care of, at least something. If it's a golf simulator, which I know these guys wonder how, and they still do, but or PXG golf clubs. I had to tell my girls coach because we were ordering drivers, and he just gave me, I'm not going to say the brand, and I was like, no. We need these better ones. And he's like, well, they're a lot of money. I'm like, no. Because I got the boys this brand, we're getting you this brand. So, and when the girls got them, they're like, whoa. It's just because I want everyone to feel like they're being treated the same. But now they know like how that happened. We could build our gate up. It funnels down to every other sport so they can feel equitable and equal.
I'll speak, do I have time to answer that? I'll speak to my actions as the athletic director, the leader of the campus, in charge of athletics and facilities and activities. My actions, I have to increase my visibility at everything, makes for some long nights, but also too, I also have inclusivity. If you were at our football game, senior night, I honored marching band, ROTC, student council, boys golf, boys swim, girls swim, volleyball, football, girls flag football. Hope I'm not missing one, but everyone that's involved in the fall sport, in addition to ROTC, marching and Spirit Line, they were honored on the field and on the track. So 500 people, at least 500 people. And I have to attend for each club or sports team we have on our campus. I pay for 2 tournaments of their choice. So no one can say that there's an issue of Title IX or favoritism because I treat everybody equally as long as the budget would allow so. But again, how I combat that, I have to go everywhere, I have to be seen everywhere, and I have to also make sure I support everyone, and they know that I'm there.
And I think for all of your responses, it has like that underlying tone of, really it's all about the communication. It's just making sure that they're informed and also just letting them know like where their opportunities are, that if they're looking for like, hey, we want to be able to raise more money to be able to do this and do that, explaining to them like the different processes for doing that. So yeah, it's really a communication thing so if we have any parents, students, coaches feeling that way, it's really, they just need to sit down with you guys and communicate, and you walk them through it. All right, so one of the other questions that's out there for our parents and for our students, you come to the school district and you're so excited that there's so many different sports to choose from, but then there's a sport you're passionate about and the school district doesn't have it. How does that process work with determining which sports are going to be offered at each of the sites?
So first and foremost, anytime we were to add a sport, so for example, a student comes, male wants to play volleyball. We currently don't have that at our sites. If we wanted to add a sport, we would at the same time add a girls sport for Title IX purposes. In this case, it would be badminton. But first and foremost, I believe we need to gauge student interest. We could have 50 young men say, I'd like to play volleyball, but that doesn't mean 50 young men are going to go out and play volleyball or be committed to what it takes to be a varsity athlete in volleyball. So first and foremost, gauge interest. Just like we would do when we're trying to introduce a new class in our academic planning guide, we have to be able to make that section or have to be able to make that team. If interest is there, and then I know, speaking to volleyball, we've had some discussions, we would then bring that to the athletics department in the district office and inform the district office of, here's the interest in this sport. And then here's what we have for the other sport that we would like to put in for, male or female. Here's the facilities we would need. Here's what we would need for coaches and coaching stipends. And then from there, it would come to this, to this building, wherein Mr. Falson and Ms. Almaraz can talk about the HR side, the district athletic needs. And just continuing to, the theme of a lot of our conversations has been communicate, just continuing to communicate with our students, with their families, to see what there is demand for on our sites, and what there is actual, not just demand and interest, but demand and desire to go out and play. And then working with our facilities department, our HR department, so that we can determine what the actual needs would be to be able to launch that sport.
The 21st Century Grant is just ideal too because it gives an opportunity if there is a sparked interest in something, to get it going on the campus, to see if you can kind of rekindle that interest in it, to then maybe take off. So that's what I like seeing with the 21st century, are these little interests that a teacher might bring or a kid might bring, to see if that can materialize. We do beach volleyball on Thursdays, for example. You know, there's a big interest in that. Okay, could that turn into something more where we could look at the AI side of that?
In addition to Mr. Chris Bennett's point, girls wrestling was an emerging sport just 4 years ago. Now girls wrestling is populated by pretty much every school in the state of Arizona and nationwide. The same thing with girls flag football, right? Started off as an emerging sport, now look at what it's done now as an Olympic sport. I know that the conversation is on my site. We have a boys volleyball club that has started formulated because, again, we cannot offer boys volleyball currently because we have to offset, as Mr. Bennett said, with a sport that's offered for females. Typically, that would be badminton in the fall, but our current facility does not allow us to host badminton and volleyball, for all those different teams.
So if you guys are picking the top two sports right now, because you have to have that balance of offering a sport both for males and females, you would say student interest right now would probably lean that to want to be boys volleyball
Yes, sir.
and girls badminton, if we had the facilities available to be able to make that happen.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
One of the other things that everybody's looking at is they want to coach for the district. As our programs become more successful, you have people out there that want to be coaches. They want to know how to get their foot in the door. They don't know where to start. What advice would you have for someone who wants to become a coach with the school district?
Currently at our district, only head varsity positions are posted at on the district website. But so a varsity assistant, a JV coach, a head freshman coach, JV assistant, and a freshman assistant, those positions will be posted on the AIA online website, and they'll be posted via school. So if Tolleson High School is looking for a basketball staff, you'll find all of those positions, 6 positions we pay for, will be all available there on that site.
And just to take it one step further, that is on the AIA classified. So if somebody were looking at that, they would navigate to classifieds, and then would not navigate to job openings, and they can see a list of assistant coach positions that we've put in for what we're looking for. And then I'll tell the community, even breaking the fourth wall, apply, apply, apply. If you live in our community, if you have a student in our community, or you're a former student in our community, if you're interested, apply and reach out. Personally, I would love to see more people who come from Sierra Linda's community and have commitment to Sierra Linda's community come out and coach at Sierra Linda. So we can not only build athletic success, but we can build the sense of ownership in the school and the community through our high school.
And what I do for head varsity positions, I'll take the job listing that's been posted at the district website, and I'll copy that link from Frontline. I'll actually put that in the classified ad on the AIA, so they can just click that link and go right there and apply.
Yeah, and I don't know how you guys do it, but when I put the assistant coaching positions there, the contact go-to person is the program head coach, because they're the ones who are going to vet them from the start. It wouldn't come to me, it goes to them. So when they're applying for a position for a certain program, they're communicating directly with that head coach.
All right, that's some good information. Start getting you guys some more coaches applying for you. We're gonna jump to one last question, but now you're king for a day. I know we all want all of our student athletes to succeed. What else is it that you need to make your programs be successful? If you could have anything, well, I see Joe's ready to go with it. Go ahead, Joe, run with
I
it.
guarantee you every single one of us is going to say this: auxiliary gym.
Yep.
Is that unanimous? Everybody's on board with that?
Because with the auxiliary gym, we can introduce girls badminton, and we can introduce in the fall, and we can introduce boys volleyball in the spring. In addition to that, we would have a place where we could put PE to do their work inside, because it's hot in August and May, where we can have assemblies or community events. Yes, I'm going to continue promoting an auxiliary gym, an auxiliary gym, an auxiliary gym.
I would like a gym, like
Just a
everybody
regular
else. But then to piggyback on the Aux gym, I was in an old district, lucky to have one, and it was so beneficial when it came to everything that Chris just rattled off. So.
All right, so we start
different.
getting more auxiliary gyms. We're going to start getting more state championships.
My needs are different. I actually use another football/soccer field because, again, we don't have enough room. Currently, right now, I'm in a situation where I'm practicing 9 programs on roughly 2 fields. And so I really could use another field.
So why don't you just put an ox gym with some turf?
Yeah. You go like ASU's dome, ASU's park.
Actually, mine's a little different. I'd like to have on the football field and at Copper Canyon on the north end zone a classroom, an additional weight room, 2 stories. With,
Hey, you got it mapped out? You got the blueprints?
yes.
With some chandeliers.
I think is this on the back of a napkin already, Chris?
Oh, I've thought about this with a track upstairs. You got windows. You could look down on the field. It's got classrooms, weight rooms.
You're gonna take away your view of the roller coasters over there at Mattel Adventure Theme Park?
You're talking about Brophy's.
I'm
Brophy has one
not.
of those.
It actually blocks the view of the Cardinal Stadium, which is
Hey,
fine.
oh, that's definitely all the time we have for this show.
But that's just something like that. And King for a day, I have all my athletes in weights with all their individualized sports. That would help out, especially with freshmen. If freshmen can get in there and lifting weights early.
Like a 7th period, like end of the day? Or
First hour. I mean, I'm not.
You're not pushing it.
I'm
You're
not
flexible.
pushing it, but it's King for a day.
All right, we're gonna see how many of those ideas we can make come to fruition. I appreciate you guys being on the show. Appreciate you sharing all this information. As you know, we aim to enlighten our parents and empower our students. And we appreciate all of our listeners for once again tuning in to the Education Exchange. And we hope to see you again next time.
And that's the end of our show. Thank you for listening. If you have questions, want more information, or would like to be a guest on the Education Exchange, please send us an email at podcast@tuhsd.org. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and tune in next week to the Education Exchange. You can catch all episodes on your favorite streaming devices or directly at www.tuhsd.org/podcast.